Just recently, a noteworthy connection between Daemon Targaryen and Jon Snow was developed as a result of character similarities between House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones, as well as the conclusion of the second season. Daemon, who is portrayed by Matt Smith in the House of the Dragon ensemble, is not a character that naturally draws many personality comparisons to Jon Snow. However, his trajectory going forward mirrors the renowned Game of Thrones hero in a fascinating way. There is a significant connection between this and Daemon's visions in Harrenhal, where he witnessed Aegon's dream in the Song of Ice and Fire, or the events that took place in the 8th season of Game of Thrones. During the earlier seasons, Jon Snow had a propensity to be a grouch, but he was always well-meaning and concerned about doing what was right. Ned Stark instilled in him a strong moral code, which he thereafter carries with him. On the other hand, Daemon is notorious for his rage and instability, and throughout the course of the program, he has been responsible for the deaths of a number of innocent individuals. Keeping this in mind, the universe of George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series frequently blurs the borders between right and wrong in its character archetypes. For the final seasons, Daemon will now play a role similar to that of Jon Snow. Because of the White Walker threat, both Daemon and Jon make a solemn vow to a Targaryen queen respectively. When Daemon finally sees Aegon's dream and realizes the danger posed by the White Walkers and the Long Night, this is the moment that marks the culmination of his visions from the second season. It appears that Daemon is still thinking about his personal interests, but he is aware of the significance of what is at stake and is determined to battle for Rhaenyra going ahead. This serves a function that is comparable to that of Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen in the 7th and 8th seasons of Game of Thrones. Jon is absolutely determined to eliminate the danger posed by the White Walkers, and in exchange for Daenerys' assistance, he makes a solemn vow to Daenerys. Having come to the conclusion that the long night is upon them, a male Targaryen bows down to a Queen Targaryen. Despite the fact that the pieces are mixed up, all of the essential components are there in both shows. Having come to the conclusion that the long night is upon them, a male Targaryen bows down to a Queen Targaryen. Daemon even uses the words, "Winter is coming," which is a Stark phrase, which creates an even stronger link to Jon's Stark bloodline. However, both Jon and Daemon gave up the chance to be kings of their own, in some form, as part of this larger cause. Jon is naturally a more devoted figure than Daemon, but both of them gave up the opportunity. The fact that Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen's romance comes to an end in a tragic manner, with the former being compelled to kill the latter in order to safeguard the realm, is an essential component of their relationship. Despite the fact that Daenerys was not the appropriate person to end up on the Iron Throne based on the decisions she made in Season 8, it is still a difficult moment, taking into consideration the fact that Game of Thrones spent years developing her character. It is important to note that Daemon does not end up killing Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra never loses control in the same way that Daenerys does before the events of the Bells. To put it another way, not in the text, that is. Despite the fact that the second season seems to hint to the possibility of Daemon's treachery, it is not likely that he will wind up betraying Rhaenyra. In point of truth, his final deed is one that could be considered heroic, as he is killed in a duel with Aemond Targaryen, so removing the most significant person who could pose a danger to Rhaenyra's leadership. Because of the additional context provided by Aegon's dream, Daemon's commitment to Rhaenyra and his willingness to sacrifice his life in combat for her are strengthened even further by the possibility of a supernatural threat in the far future. Surprisingly, the choice to having Daemon's motivation come from the protection of the realm from the Long Night brings him closer to the status of an anti-hero. According to the results of the Dance of the Dragons, Rhaenyra and Daemon Targaryen's son, Aegon Iui, will be crowned king, so ensuring that the Targaryen dynasty will be maintained for a period of time. However, despite the fact that neither Rhaenyra nor Daemon ends up as the recognized rulers of Westeros, they are basically victorious in the conflict because their bloodline emerges victorious. However, all of Aegon Iui's sons pass away very swiftly, and decades later, Viserys Stu, the son of Rhaenyra and Daemon, reigns over the Iron Throne for a year before he passes away, therefore re-establishing the bloodline. Aegon IV, Darren I, Maekar I, Aegon V, Jaehaerys Dew, Aerys Dew, and Prince Rhaegar Targaryen are all in the line of succession. It is through Prince Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark that Jon Snow is a descendant of House Targaryen. This means that he is Daemon's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. Within the span of approximately 170 years that elapses between the events shown in House of the Dragon's Dance of the Dragons and Game of Thrones, this entire bloodline takes place. In light of the numerous distinctions between them, it is peculiar that they are related to one another, and it is even more peculiar that they are following a narrative pattern that is comparable to one another. The cast. The following individuals were included in the cast: Jefferson Hall, Paddy Considine, Fabian Frankel, Ryan Corr, Eve Best, Gavin Spokes, Graham McTavish, Steve Toussaint, Olivia Cook, Sonoya Mizuno, Bill Patterson, Matthew Needham, Emma Darcy, Matt Smith, Rhys Ifans, and David Horovich. Dates of release: 21st of August, 2022. Periods of time: 2. Services that stream content: Max on HBO, or franchises: HBO's Game of Thrones.